Yo, what up guys, it's ARTFX. We're gonna be looking at a new synthesizer today that's made by Parawave Audio, and this one is called Rapid. Let's get to it. So I've got Rapid open right here, and I was amazed by this plugin when I first started playing with it. First of all, it looks like any regular synth, right? You've got 3 oscillators, a filter section, you've got an insert effects section, which could also be a filter. Then you've got your modulation sources, you've got your envelopes, LFOs, sequencers, which are pretty much like the performers in Massive, an arpeggiator, and your oscilloscope, which will show us the waveform. And then below that you've got your effects section, which is just an effect rack in which you can put all these different effects, so that's pretty cool. And then down below that you've got your modulation, all your modulation slots. So yeah, that looks pretty much like a regular synth. But when we go into the oscillators, you can see first of all we've got wavetables. So we've got, for instance, a wavetable like this, and we can morph through it. Now that's just what you would expect of a wavetable synth, but it also comes with multi-sampled wavetables. This is actually not really a wavetable anymore, this is more like a sampler patch, where you would get something like this. So that's more like a sampler. It actually triggers different samples depending on what note you're playing. So when you compare that to, for instance, Serum. Serum has the noise oscillator in which you could put in your own samples, but you can only put in one sample. So when you play it, it will actually just pitch the sample up and down to get to the right pitch. This actually contains multi-sampled waveforms. So it's basically just a preset which has a bunch of different samples loaded in, and it will trigger one of the samples depending on what note you're playing on your keyboard. So I can play that note, and when I play an octave higher, we get a different sample that is being triggered. So it's not just pitching the samples up and down, it's actually triggering different samples for each different note. That's really great because it will give you a more organic sound. Every note is not going to sound exactly the same, and that will really help to create, I think, more interesting patches, because you can layer those with the normal wavetables. Like that. You could just take one of the wavetables like this, turn it on, that's really cool, and it opens up really interesting possibilities. Now, one of the other core things that I really like about this plugin is the fact that it is 8 different instances of this synthesizer grouped together inside one synthesizer. I hope that makes sense, but I'll try to explain it right now. So just looking at this, this is basically what you would expect of a synthesizer, right? Everything you see right here would, you know, all together make up a synthesizer. But look at what we've got going right here. If I now switch to this second layer, it's empty. That is because you get not only 1, but you get 8 of these layers. So you can actually create 8 different patches inside one synth and layer them. And that's really cool, because I could say, maybe I want to do something different here. I want to do this, turn it on. And I'm gonna do another one. Let's do one of the wavetables. Let's try Formant, and dropping that down in pitch a little bit. So now we actually have 2 different layers. I can say on this layer I want to have a delay. Let's do a 1/4. And on the second layer, I'm gonna do a reverb. And let's just put in another synth here, another oscillator. And we can put in some other things, maybe a talker. So now you can already hear. We've got two layers going on, and these two layers create one single patch. But this is really powerful because every single layer has its own envelopes and its own LFOs and its own sequencers and even its own arpeggiator. So basically every one of these layers is a full-fledged synthesizer, and you can just create 8 different synthesizer patches inside this one synth and layer them. How awesome is that? So to really demonstrate that, I'm gonna go into this tab, which is the mixer tab, where you can actually see the preset browser and you can see the mixer, because we can actually, I can say I want to have this one a little bit quieter. You know, you can actually work with that. You've got a compressor down here. So that's really powerful. Now, if we really want to see how powerful this synth is, I'm gonna open up one of the presets right now. We're in the tracks category, and I'm gonna open up this top one. So right off the bat now, you can see that it opens up a couple of different layers. We now have lead, kick, uplifter, crash, blips, pads, plugs, and effects. So these are 8 layers, and these 8 layers are being triggered. You can see down here we've got keyboard ranges as well. So these are just your keyboard ranges for each individual ones of these layers. And you can see that you can actually limit one of the layers to just a particular set of keys. So that is really interesting, because I've never saw that in a synthesizer before. Just in samplers, I mean in Contact, you can actually limit particular samples to a particular range of keys. But having that in a synth is absolutely powerful. Now I opened up this first patch, which is called Anthem of Progressive, and it's coming from the Tracks library. I'm gonna open up my piano roll, so you're gonna be able to see which notes I'm going to be playing, because I'm only going to be playing one note on my keyboard, and that single note is going to trigger all of these different layers. Now I'm going to play this in 3, 2, 1. So yeah, you can hear just pressing one F note on my keyboard and I get pretty much an entire track. So that's how powerful the synth is. You can actually do these really awesome things with just this one synthesizer. Now, there are some other really interesting things I want to point out. Right here, you've got a tutorial section that actually gives you a whole bunch of different things that you can do in here. So one I want to show you is called Drop a MIDI to the ARP. If we go into layer 1 now, you can see this is our layer, and we've got the arpeggiator down here, and you can see that it's actually playing back MIDI notes. Now, if I press a note on my keyboard now, I'm gonna press another F note. So you can see it's playing back a MIDI note instead of using the arpeggiator. So the arpeggiator is not just an arpeggiator, but it's also a sequencer. You can sequence some notes with just a regular patch, you know, just on a MIDI track, sequence some notes into a nice lead or a chord progression, and you can load that MIDI file into the arpeggiator and let that arpeggiator play back that MIDI file on one of the patches. So you can, let's say, create a bass MIDI file, then create a MIDI file for the chords, and then maybe create another MIDI file for a lead, and you can import those into the arpeggiator and have different layers play back different notes. So you can actually have one dedicated bass patch on layer 1 play back just the bottom notes of a chord. Then you can have the main chord progression on layer 2, which will play back all the notes of the chords. And then you have layer 3, which might be a lead sound, which only plays the top notes of the chords, or maybe even a melody that sits on top of the chords. That way you can create so big things. I mean, these patches that you can create with a synth like this can become so powerful and so big that I was blown away by the fact that they've put something like this in a synthesizer. I haven't really played around with the synth too much yet, so I'm not gonna go and dive in and create some patches today. I just want to show you some really cool features of this plugin. Now, let's just go through the presets a little bit and see what other things there are in here. Let's just choose one. Filter funk. That sounds amazing already. Land of Birds. Okay. Reduction, maybe? So we can see this one is made up out of 2 layers again. We've got an ARP layer and a bell layer. So that's cool. So I've opened up another patch. This one is called Neuro Phase and it's from the Dirty Bass category. This one is really cool because it showcases how you can use frequency splitting inside this synthesizer. Yes, you heard that right. You don't have to do frequency splitting outside of the synthesizer anymore. It has this layer 1 called Neuro, and it sounds like this. And what is going on here is on the Neuro layer, which is the first layer, they basically programmed a patch, and then in the effects section they use the send effect type, which is just a send, and then you can select here, you can select to which layers you want to send that to. So they've sent this layer 1 to layer 2, 3 and 4, and then they named these layers low, mid and high. So now this layer, if we turn off these 2, only contains the low frequencies of this bass sound. So you can see right here they've used a filter, and then they basically made another send, and then they send it to layer 6, which is our bus track. So here all these different layers come together again and have a bunch of different effects here. So yeah, that's cool. Then we have the mid layer, and we have the high layer. So these are all just split up, and then I can group them again and they all come into this 6th bus track. So that's really powerful, don't you think? The fact that you don't have to split frequencies after you're done with the synth. You can actually do so many things with just this synth alone. Are there some other things in here that we could talk about? Drum loops. It's especially really simple to make drum loops in here as well, because you've got all these different layers. So for instance this one. So you can simply use the arpeggiator and create awesome patterns with this. You can see that this is really powerful. We can bring down the velocity if we want. So yeah, that's another really cool thing about this plugin. I cannot say it often enough. I mean, all these different layers is something I think is really great. Let's try this one, Abstract. But this is just one patch, one layer. Interesting. Let's see what else we've got. Instruments, pianos, Fiesta keys. So that sounds really cool. I mean, it doesn't sound as good as, for instance, Contact, but you know, for a synthesizer, this will do. I mean, so you can hear, I mean, you can put this in a really cool patch, and the greatest thing about this is you can dive in here. This is just one layer, by the way, so I can say I want to have another layer and go into the mixer. Let's bring that one down a bit. Now we have a saw wave mixed in with a Rhodes patch. So, you know, I think I've shown a little bit about the synth now. I think this pretty much will show you that this synth is really powerful. I'm gonna be working with this synth in the upcoming weeks, and I'm probably gonna be doing videos with this synth. So if you want to see me doing bass design videos with the synth, like this video. If I get this up to, well, I don't know how many likes, 200 likes? Yes, let's do that. 200 likes on this video and I'll do a bass design video with Rapid. So that's it for this video. I know it's a little bit short, but you know, there's so much to talk about in this synth, and I don't really want to make this video 2 hours or something like that. So in the upcoming videos about Rapid, we're gonna look a little bit further into what everything does and how everything works. But for now, I think this showcases quite well what Rapid does and why I think it is really, really powerful. So that's it for this video. If you want to get some really cool samples or preset packs, like the samples and presets you hear in my videos and in my music, you can go to my website, which is www.artfx-studios.com. On there you can find a whole bunch of packs that are available to you. It's packs for Serum, packs for Massive, sample packs with drum sounds, and just generally speaking some really interesting sounds that will help you to make better music. So that's it for this video, and I hope to see you back soon. Peace!